Okay, so for 1.4, for section exercise 1.4, so you can find the answer in the Google Classroom, which is the chapter 1 textbook and also the workbook answer. But I understand that maybe some of the students will find difficulties in understanding the answer. So in this case, maybe let me quickly go through the answers together. So first of all, you can have a look on here. So you will see that, okay, for page 12, okay, so in this case, the first one, which is like a tube, okay, so this would be a test tube. And on the other hand, it is like flask but with a round bottom. So in this case, it would be the beaker. And if the top part, for example, the mouth of the tube is narrower and it is in a cylindrical shape, then in this case, it would be what we call the conical flask. Apart from that, if we see that there is a stopper, stopped the glass bottle or a flask, then in this case, it would be the reagent a bottle. Next, okay, so here we got the wooden clip, and this wooden clip would be what we call the test tube holder. And if it is like a brush shape, so it would be the test tube brushed. Then apart from that, if we see there is a metal stand, and such metal stand is for us to place the test tube, and in this case, this would be what we call the test tube rack. And apart from that, okay, we have the glass rod. Okay, this glass rod would be the glass shape. I mean a rod shaped glass, and this glass rod will be used for our stirring of the liquid. Then, okay, we like a spoon-shaped materials, and it would be the spatula. And apart from that, we can see there is a bob. Okay, so this would be the dropper. Next, okay, we see it is the filter funnel. Then in this case, it would be like a funnel, and then there will be like a long tube. Then this would be the filter funnel. Next, okay, we got the clip and we got the stand and we also got the base. Okay, and that would be what we call the stand and clamp. Okay. Now then, okay, when we try to move on to the 100 cm cube of liquid for an experiment, then in this case, we will use, okay, what we call a large uh, uh, tubes or larger size of apparatus. Then normally when we try to think about the larger size of the apparatus, then we will use basically the beaker or the reagent bottle. But for reagent bottle, we will mainly use for storage. But if we use for holding the liquid for an experiment, then in this case, we will use the beaker. Okay, so therefore the answer will be C. Next, okay, which of the following ways it would be a mixing of solution in a test tube? So definitely we will either we just tap the bottom of the test tube to see whether there is any mixing of the solution. And apart from that, okay, we can just gently shake, okay, the test tube. This would be also one of the way that for us to mix the solution correctly. But then if we try to use our hands to cover the mouth of the test tube. Then in this case, if we shake it in this way, then in this case, it would be totally a wrong practice, and we may hurt our hands if we do have any problems. Okay, I mean, if we the solution, if it is corrosive or if it is harmful or if it is toxic, then in this case, it would be a big problem. Next, okay, here it would be the apparatus that we will use, okay, or the steps that we will use for the mixing of solution A and B. But remember that, okay, whenever we use different, transfer different solution, and in this case, we need to use different dropper. If we did not use or we do not have different dropper, or we only have just one dropper, then in this case we need to clean the dropper. Then how can we clean the dropper? We will use our dropper to squeeze and get some liquid. So in this case, we can clean the inner surface or the inner wall of the dropper. So in this case, the answer here, it would be D. Next, okay, for the structural questions, so we will complete the table below to show the use of apparatus. So normally in the uniform test, we do ask you, for example, maybe some of the functions or some of the purpose, some of the use for the apparatus. Okay, so in this case, when we try to look at it, okay, we will. It is important for us to memorize the functions and also how to know the spelling of the apparatus. So now, for example, for the conical flask, the functions here, it would be to hold the liquid over the solid. And while for the spatula, it would be like a spoon. So in this case, we will try to use for the transfer of a small amount of solid. And apart from that, for the test tube holder, then in this case, it is just the wooden clip. So in this case, we will try to hold the test tube when we are heating. Okay, this is very important because sometimes if we're not heating, we no need to use the test tube holder. We can just gently use our finger to hold the test tube. But then, okay, when we try to heat the test tube, then it is quite hot, the test tube. So if we hold the test tube with our bare hand, then it will be a big problem. Okay, so in this case, we will use the test tube holder to hold the test tube when we are heating some solutions or some solid, etc. Next, okay, apart from that, for us to clean the test tube, we will use the test tube brush. Okay, so the functions or the main use for the test tube brush is to clean the test tube, the inner wall of the test tube. So now here it would be an apparatus, okay, that we use in a boiling of water. So in this case, when we try to name it, so this would be the answer um, for the apparatus that it listed in the pictures. So and remember that, okay, for the Bunsen burner B, okay, the first letter for the Bunsen, okay, because Bunsen is a person who invents this burner. So in this case, we need to write the B in a capital letter. Okay, then next, okay, for the sectional diagram. So in this case, we have already go through. Okay, so I won't talk about it. Okay, or you can find the answer, and in this case, in the answer of the workbooks. So it won't be a big problem. And remember that for this year onwards, okay, you don't need to draw the structure or you don't need to draw the pictures of the Bunsen burner. You just simply draw an arrow, and then under the arrow, you can just simply write down the heat. Okay. So next, okay, for the fill in the blanks for 1.4 D and E. So for the first question, large volume, normally we will usually measure in what we call the unit, it will be in liters, okay? Next, the instrument shown below, actually, it would be a half meter rule because when we look at the pictures, it only shows until 50 cm. So meaning that it is a half meter, but not a 1 meter, okay? I mean, not a meter rule, okay? So it is halved. So in this case, it would be the half meter rule. So in summer, the actually our temperature, okay, in Hong Kong can be over 35 degrees Celsius. So when we try to see, okay, degree Celsius, so meaning that it must be related to the temperature. Next, the symbol degree Celsius actually will stand for the full terms. Okay, here it would be degree Celsius. Okay, and remember that for Celsius, Celsius is a percent. So in this case, you need to write the Celsius DC, okay, in a capital letter. Okay. Next, the reading can be measured by what we call a thermometer. Next, okay, when the air hole of a Bunsen burner is open, then in this case, we will say that a non-luminous flame is produced. Okay. Next, okay, for centimeter, it is a suitable unit for measuring the height of the building. And definitely it should be wrong because normally for the building, we will, rather than use the centimeter, we will use the terms meter. Okay, so it would be false. Next, okay, for 1 meter, it would be equals to 1,000 millimeter. So of course, that is true, okay, because 1 meter is equals to 100 centimeter, and while 1 centimeter is equals to 10 millimeter, so we use 10 times 100, so it means that it is 1,000. So 1 meter is equals to 1,000 millimeter. So there are errors in all the measurement, definitely, because we do have the error, what we call the limitation in reading, so okay, or the limitations of reading. So no matter which how accurate or how expensive the equipment or the apparatus that we use, we do have the reading error occur in our measurement. Next, okay, when we try to boil 200 cm cubed of water, we will use, okay, a 250 cm cubed of beaker instead of 500 cm cubed of beaker to hold the water. Definitely, it should be false, okay? So even though, okay, 250 cm cubed of beaker is good enough, or it is enough for us to hold this 200 cm cubed of water, but okay, due to the boiling, there will be some what we call the pumping action. That means the water will blue, 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 blue. So in this case, this blue, 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 actually it will cause the water splash out. Okay, when they are at the moment or at the stage that is they are boiled. Okay, so in this case, it will be splash. Okay, to maybe some other students or everywhere, then this may cause what we call a danger, okay, towards to the surrounded people. So rather than that, we will use a even larger size of beaker so that when we try to boil the water, we won't harm or we won't affect other people. Okay. Next, okay, a luminous flame is hotter than a non-luminous flame. So in this case, that is, of course, this is wrong because the non-luminous flame, it contained oxygen. Okay, it provides more oxygen towards to the flame. So in this case, the flame should have a higher or a hotter temperature. Next, okay, for the labeling, okay, so in this case, this would be the labels, okay, so you can refer to the pictures here. Next, okay, for the steps, okay, so it's just totally the same, okay, for the worksheet. So you can just simply, okay, follow the worksheet, okay. So here it will be the correct order for the worksheet, okay, and also the workbook, okay. So you can refer to here, okay. So I don't go through with you, and actually we have to do numbers of practice on it, okay. And even we have for 1B class, you have already use, I mean, experience on how to use the Bunsen burner. So in this case, it would not be a big problem for you to recap or to write down, okay, or to arrange the procedure for us to lighting up a Bunsen burner. So next, okay, which of the following is not a unit of volume? Of course, it would be the milligram. Okay, it is a unit for mass. Okay, for us to measuring the mass. Next, what is the length for the paper clip below? So definitely it would be 3.4 according to the pictures shown here. So sometimes we will use a ruler to place, okay, it at the end or at the edge of the paper clip. So in this case, we can go or we can obtain an accurate number, or we can find out, okay, the correct answer. Okay, so and for free, okay, we have already go through, so I don't talk about it. And lastly, here it would be the steps for measuring things. So it is not that difficult, and we do have spent a lot of time in talking about what we call set zero. Okay, set zero. Okay, so you can refer to the textbook, not too difficult. Next, okay, here it would be the combination. So you can quickly have a look. Okay, it is not too difficult in understanding it. And errors, okay. So now remember, errors, it is not something what we call the mistake, okay. Human error is something that we call as mistake. But the problem is that human error, we don't include, okay, in our measurements, okay. So in this case, we should, I mean, human error is something that we should not include it in, or we should not appear in our measurement. So you may ask a question, sir, how about the limitation in reading? So this is also like a human error. Now, actually, this is not a human error. That is what we call the systematical error. So meaning that it is, when we try to use this apparatus, that would be some limitation. And these limitation cannot be avoided. And that is the definition for us to say it is an error. Okay, so therefore, okay, error and mistake. This statement actually is not correct. Okay, so the answer should be C. So next, okay, for here, okay, for most of the class, I've already mentioned and we have already do the practice in it. So you can think about it, not too difficult. Just remember that identical this term. Identical means that equals or yet year. So when there are two identical ball or objects, so means that we need to uh, divide, okay, the total volume or the difference of the volume by two, okay, so that we can find out each volume, each object, the volume of each object. Okay, so therefore the answer should be B. Okay, next, okay, which of the following should be done when we're using the Bunsen burner? So in this case, we can quickly have a look. It would be A, okay, because we do need to wear the safety spectacles and we need to put an insulating mat under the Bunsen burner, etc. So these would be something that we need to do, okay, before we heating or heat the Bunsen burner. Sorry, heat the test tube, okay. While it is not a must for us to fully open the air hole because sometimes if we do have sufficient temperature or we do have enough temperature for us to make okay the water boil, then in this case it should be fine. So we can use the halfly opened, or we can sometimes we no need to open the air hole when we try to boil the water. Then, okay, for this unit and also symbol, so I think it's quite easy. So I don't think it would be a big problem for that, okay? Next, okay, so here it would be the volume, okay, for us to calculate the tissue box. It's something that we have already go through or you have already learned it in mathematics. So just let me know in case you are not understanding why it would be calculated in this way, okay? Next, okay, remember when we try to read the volume of liquid in the measuring cylinder, we need to look for the bottom of the water meniscus. So in this case, which part we need to look at it? We will look at the part over here, okay? So in this case, okay, we will look at the bottom of the meniscus. Okay, we will look at the meniscus, okay, here. Okay, because it is the bottom part of this curve, okay, and that curve we will say that it is the meniscus, okay. So if you look at it, okay, it is not that difficult. The volume it would be in this way. Now you may ask the question, why some of them they will use the units of ml, while some of them they will use the unit of cm cube. So this depends on the types of measuring cylinder. If the measuring cylinder provide to you it gives you the unit of ml or it lists ml, then you need to tell me the unit of ml. But if, okay, they list or they showed you the unit, it will be cm cube, then in this case, please use the unit for cm cube, okay? Not too difficult. Next, okay, for the thermometer, it's also not too difficult, and it is something that you can read it, okay? And just something that you have learned in primary school. Now, okay, when we try to look at here, the diagram below shows a student lighting up a Bunsen burner with a gas lighter. So in this case, point out the mistake that the student made. Now, if you look at here, we can find out that actually the hands is placed above the chimney. So in this case, this would be a big problem because when we light up the Bunsen burner, such sudden flame coming out from the chimney may burn or may accidentally harm your hand. So in this case, we need to put our hand below the chimney. Okay. Next, name the problem that may occur if the air hole is not closed when lighting the Bunsen burner. Okay. So one of it would be the striking back. Okay, the striking back. What means striking back? Means that when we try to open the air hole, actually it will cause a loud noise, and the fire or the flame occur in the air hole. Okay, or occur at the parts that the gasoline coming out. So it would be a very dangerous practice because the fire or the flame may continue ignited in the rubber tubing. So this may cause an explosion in the laboratory. So how can we know this problem occur in B? So of course, we will hear a loud noise, okay? And it is quite obvious, okay? It's quite loud, okay? And some of the students may hear such sound, okay? So what should we do if there is such problem occur? So we need to instantly turn off the gas tap at once, okay? Or we need to quickly turn off the gas tap so that we stopped, okay, the oxygen, not oxygen, the fuel supply due us to the flame, okay? Now then, okay, for this part, okay, as it is not included, okay, the drawing of the tables to record the data in the uniform test. So in this case, you can just quickly do some revision on it, okay, not too difficult. Next, okay, I mean, you can just simply try to work on it, or if you do not want to work on it, it's totally fine. Okay, we will go back a little bit later. And for this part, okay, you can just refer to the answer that I provided to you, not too difficult. While for the unit exercise, it is the further exercise for you to do the revisions, okay? And then if you have any other questions, please, okay, ask in the Google Classroom. And I hope this video can help you to understand the 1.4 workbook exercise, okay? So if know any other things, then good luck for your uniform test.